Is there a better tale of vengeance and betrayal in all of Warhammer Fantasy than the tale of Dwarf Santa Claus, an avatar of grudges literally too angry to die? I think not. So while he works his way through the legendary Lord cast on his way back to Malekith the Witch King, his people have some bones to break in the World's Edge Mountains. So we've got Dwarfs vs. Tomb Kings and a crazy ending in this one, and yeah, it's gonna get pretty bananas. Now I like this matchup a lot, because it does a great job of showing us that head-to-head scenarios are often a lot more important than any overall arbitrary tier list. Tomb Kings are widely considered a top-tier competitive faction right now. Dwarfs are certainly viable, but they're mid to lower tier, and yet it doesn't matter. Some races inherently have an advantage over others, and that is the case here. Dawi are typically favored against Tomb Kings, and just have all the right tools to make things difficult for the undead, but there are very few, if any, matchups in this game that are even remotely insurmountable. Usually just comes down to micro and army composition, which is why this game is still so fun. So speaking of army compositions, A-Move Hacker is playing Dwarfs, RTK V-Claw is playing the Tomb Kings, and Gromby has his Rune Axe. Pretty amazing synergy with Flash Bomb, because he makes enemy lords run away, then pins them in place so he can rip their spines out through their butthole. Bugman's Rangers on the flanks, really good melee attack and defense for a archer unit, and they've got regen as well, so they can survive for a long time. And take a look at this, Arkhan the Black and a Khemrian Warsphinx hanging out, using the map and the terrain to their advantage, taking shelter from all those bolt throwers and artillery. There are some Troll Hammer torpedoes, which are a nightmare for Khemrian Warsphinxes and for the Ushabti that are coming in now. We've got Arkhan the Black on his Pimp Chariot. Purple Son of Xerius is his only spell, but he does have his Lich Staff, and he does have Curse and his Skeleton Summon. Thank you, Lola. 10 out of 10 Bork. She's a really damn good commentator. So the Tomb Kings are coming in straight for melee. They want blood, they're smelling it, they've already got a Skeleton Summon on top of Bugman's Rangers, and they're already causing a lot of havoc there. Now, I think it's a little bit dangerous to put your Rangers out on the flanks quite like this, where they can just get it charged with impunity by Arkhan the Black and by other chariots, but it will create some more space for the Khemrian Warsphinx to bound right up the center, directly into the Iron Drake Trollhammer torpedoes. Dragonback Slayers are right on target, and immediately, Khemrian Warsphinx losing about 1/5 of his HP, so if he can pin the War Kitty in place, combining Flash Bomb from Grombrindal and the slow from the Slayers of Dragonback, it'll take Trollhammer torpedoes maybe like 15 seconds to utterly destroy it. Ushabti already into melee. Purple Son of Xerius trying to clip those Dragonback Slayers. If you get a flush shot from that vortex, it will completely destroy them. Bugman's Rangers on the other flank look like they're about to get charged in the rear by chariots, and in the center, Ushabti just pushing right through alongside the Skeleton Warriors, and I'm liking that Blessed Legion of Demonetized play. Combine that with 2 regular archers, and you're getting a lot more value even when you're firing in from the front. Skeleton Chariot's gonna get a gorgeous rear charge into the back of Bugman's Rangers, and they'll deal quite a bit of damage there. I'm not really sure what the idea here behind the Rangers on the flank is. Obviously, you want to use that Vanguard and the Guerrilla Tactics as stock and all those beautiful things to get them in a good position, but when they're completely isolated like that, it does allow what just happened. Chariots to just charge in with impunity. They'll be able to survive that a lot easier than your typical Ranger unit, though, because Bugman's Rangers do have that regen and bit better melee defense and stats overall. Khemrian Warsphinx is down to half health, and it could just completely go extinct here if it's not careful. It's getting surrounded by the Trollhammer torpedoes, but the Ushabti pushing all the way through, and now they're already compromising the back line. And you might say this is looking kind of bad for the Dwarfs already. Tomb Kings are kind of getting in exactly where they want to go, but the Dwarfs live and die by that bend, don't break philosophy. It's not always the hardest thing in the world to mess up a Dawi formation, but can you eliminate all that high armor and melee defense without getting wrecked in return? And the Warsphinx is already learning the hard way. It's not the easiest or most simple task. Still, V-Claw and the Tomb Kings have tied down the vast majority of Dwarf units in this opening rush. Carrion and the Constructs easily able to make those bolt throwers fall silent, and Arkhan the Black riding dirty in his 6'4 Impala, hydraulics bumping, bow speakers blasting as he cackles with glee and drops yet another Purple Son of Xerius on the heads of some giant slayers, which are not really considered a top-tier Dwarf unit, but they can be useful against the Tomb Kings. Obviously, they have high AP, huge weapon strength, but their inherent squishiness, their low melee defense, makes them kind of a risky pick. And of course, those Skeleton Archers will be a complete nightmare for them. Bugman's Rangers are tied down now by the Khemrian Warsphinx. He's diving through, super low in health, no way to heal it, but the War Kitty gonna meow its displeasure and send a few Bugman's Rangers to meet the ancestor gods in the afterlife. Blasting charges will not slow down its rampage. Terror beginning to set in for a lot of these dwarf units, and the War Kitty able to bound through and kind of stay on the periphery of these engagements. And if V-Claw's smart here, he could keep that thing alive for a long time. All the rest of the range stuff mostly tied down, and Arkhan the Black can get on anything with impunity as long as he doesn't get too close to Grombrindal. Can summon some more skeletons and tie down the rest of the Trollhammer torpedoes and the Bugman's Ranger play. Did get too close to Grombrindal though. The White Dwarf has a flash bomb and sharpened Gromril for all the evil Skelly boys on his naughty list, while the Ushabti summon tears up the remnants of the Giant Slayers, who go to meet their doom willingly against a worthy foe. Meow! I think it was Howard Dean on the campaign trail. Dave Chappelle did a skit about it a long time ago. First we're gonna go to Karak Ungor, then we're gonna go to Nehekara, then we're gonna take back the Kara's Anchor. Meow! And they're just getting destroyed as they charge in, and some chariots are going to make things even more difficult for the remnants of the Dawi infantry, who are looking super depleted. But to be fair, forces of Nehekara aren't looking super healthy either. Torrid affair so far, pretty even. Battle's dead even, actually. But Grombrindal is relatively unscathed, and he's been causing a lot of carnage wherever he can. I think all the monstrous infantry for the Tomb Kings is about to crumble out, and that will leave Arkhan the Black and that Khemrian Warsphinx a little bit isolated. It looks like the Dawi do have more of their foot troops remaining as opposed to the skeletons, but that makes sense. V-Claw and the Tomb Kings did not invest very much in a front line. It's just skeleton warriors which are there to tank and absorb some damage and basically just be annoying, while the Khemrian Warsphinx and Arkhan carry the day. Ushabti are gone now. I'm seeing one unit remaining over by the artillery. Trollhammer torpedoes getting run down by Arkhan the Black. Low riding, big pimpin', styling on these hoes. And he's gonna be looking for more infantry to charge into. And it looks like most of the range play for the Dwarfs is completely offline at this point, except for a handful of Iron Drake Trollhammer torpedoes. Chariots have taken a lot of damage, as you would expect, charging into a bunch of Longbeards and the Bugman's Rangers, who, as I said, do have better melee stats than your typical stuff. But the Khemrian Warsphinx is making sure to stay away from anything that can bring it down, and I think the biggest threat for him is Grombrindal. If he gets in range, gets that flash bomb off, Warsphinx could go down in 1 or 2 hits, especially when that Rune Axe of Grombrindal is popped and that -16 leadership penalty kicks in. That'll be Crumble City. And speaking of crumbling, Ushabti crumbling out, they're gone now. That's the rest of the monstrous infantry done and dusted for the Tomb Kings. But take a look at this. Grombrindal Dragonback Slayers are in the center of the Khemrian Warsphinx, just hound stuff in the rear. Take a look at these Longbeards and these Miners, though, getting pretty isolated over there, charging after the Skeleton Archers. That will play a really important factor in the wars to come, because these Skeleton Warriors are going to crumble out, and the Dwarfs will push back this initial tide. The Undead have lost all their infantry, but now as the Dawi get more and more spread out, and they chase further and further, overextending after the Blessed Legion of Demonetized and the regular Skeleton Archers, that will let the Skeleton Chariots and Arkhan the Black come in and pray and feast. Now, normally, Arkhan the Black and Skeleton Chariots don't have enough armor piercing to do a lot of damage to Longbeards. So what he's going to do is feint and charge so the shields face the opposite way. Then the archers get some really good focus fire, and when they turn around, that's when Arkhan the Black goes in and gets a rear charge. Again, his chariot doesn't have a lot of AP. Well, what it does have is plenty of bonus versus infantry, so if they lose all their melee defense by focusing the wrong way, then the chariot goes in, deals some good damage, and disengages. Ideally, you want to charge in from the flank so you don't get stuck up going through the center where the entire formation can collapse in on you, but this is really well played. I mean, look at this. He's forced those Longbeards into a situation where they have to choose between getting shot in the rear or taking the charge from Arkhan, and both those are pretty terrible propositions. And you can see the Longbeards, who were 3/4 health, are now down to about 1/4, and they're gonna break as soon as Arkhan charges in for the final time. Beautiful play from V-Claw there. You should try to emulate that anytime you see a heavily armored unit, a shielded unit, and one that you can't necessarily charge into melee with, but you have some range fire to help support. The feints there were perfect. They forced the Longbeards into a super awkward position. They got overextended, and they got punished heavily. That's a big blow to the Dawi. We're going to fast forward here just a little bit as the Khemrian Warsphinx moves into position. And now It's his job to break up the phalanxes and tear out the rest of this infantry. Now, Longbeard's going to be very resilient to that, obviously, but the rest of the dwarf infantry and Grombrindal won't like getting charged. Now, I don't think the Khemrian Warsphinx wants to get anywhere near Grombrindal. Again, that flash bomb and the rune axe will, yeah, I mean, he's actually 2 hits from death. Literally. When he pops that rune axe, he gets up to like 650, 700 weapon strength. That is a blood torrent, a cascade of water falling blood. And that is what a Khemrian Warsphinx can offer you, my friends. It will bust up dwarf phalanxes super quick. Such a gorgeous model, too. And the Liger Zero from Zoids, making its impact felt many times over. I don't think any of this dwarf infantry has any chance with this monstrosity stalking the field. They just don't have enough melee attack or armor piercing to cut it down. Even though it looks like it's beginning to crumble a teeny bit, its HP bar is big enough that it's going to be able to survive for a while, and as soon as it gets out of melee, I think it'll stabilize and be just fine. Now the chariots charged in. That's a risky proposition for sure. Flash bomb catching them out, and Grombrindal will swing that rune axe once or twice, bring down at least a few models, and then try to disengage, but they're moving as slow as molasses in January. Bugman's Rangers and a handful of Dragonback Slayers rallying to their lord's side. But really, this game is now up to Grombrindal himself, and the balance bar is still dead even. Khemrian Warsphinx again bounding into melee. Langobard's melting away under its razor-sharp murder mittens. If I fits, I sits. One more charge from the Skeleton Chariots, bowling through Bugman's Rangers and the rest of the Longbeards. Grombrindal going in, and one strike from the rune axe will drop it. And the Murder Kitty is done. That's a huge blow to the Tomb Kings. Could have finished off the rest and maybe gotten a cycle charge in or two against Grombrindal. Getting through all that HP he has remaining. I mean, look at that. He's actually holding this balance bar even after all this. Purple Sun Azarius going off in the background, killing a few more. And Arkhan's just going to have free reign to run over the remnants of this dwarf force. It really is just up to the White Dwarf, to Dwarf Santa Claus himself, as the skeleton legions rise from the earth. Miners rallying to their king, but it doesn't matter. They're gonna break, and Arkhan finishing off the rest. Dragonback Slayers trying to close in on him. Grombrindal taking on 3 full units of skeletons, but we know from campaign he can do that all day. That's not a problem. Huge charge coming in on Dragonback Slayers, and they're dead. Wiped them all out. 4 models, 5 models or so, just decapitated, sent flying into that rock. And this is the end. Can Grombrindal clutch this out? Is the Dawi Lord literally too angry to die? Or can Arkhan the Black cycle charge him into oblivion? You just know Arkhan the Black is kicking himself that he didn't bring Spirit Leech or some secondary spell that could deal something to Grombrindal. You know he doesn't want to close it to melee with this beast. But while he's tied up by all these legions of Skelly Boys, might be a great time. The Doot Toot train is coming. And here we go. Charge coming in from the rear. This is pretty much the window of opportunity Arkhan the Black has. While the skeletons are still alive, and a lot of them are crumbling, they're crumbling super quick. They can't take this on. Remember that discouraged contact effect whenever the rune axe of Grombrindal pops, minus 16 leadership, gonna crumble everything super quick. So I don't agree with Arkhan running over there. He needs to stay on top of Gromby and just keep cycle charging back and forth while he has the support from the infantry. If he doesn't have the support, he can't take him on 1v1. So that balance bar is dead even. But in a duel between the two, I mean, Grombrindal will smash him, especially with the flash bomb. He needs these skellies to meat shield for him, or bone shield, however you want to put it. That's the right way to do it. Flash bomb might get wasted. It did get wasted. That's huge. That's actually a really big deal. 90-second cooldown, can't cast it again, means it might not be on cooldown when they get their 1v1 going. And that will allow Arkhan to cycle charge more effectively. But everything's crumbling so quickly. Grombrindal is beasting it up. The White Dwarf is kicking some serious ass. Foeseeker popped to get some more stamina and regen back. Fatigue, not so much of an issue for the White Dwarf here. One more fast forward. Rest of the skeletons have crumbled. Purple Sun doesn't do anything to single entities. In fact, it might almost one-shot his own skeleton warriors, but they did not get hit. And there's another full unit now ready to support. And the balance bar is swung back in favor of the Tomb Kings. Flash bomb used again. That 90 seconds goes by super quick, man. Goes by super quick. But again, Arkhan the Black looks like he can escape behind the safety of his own bone shields. Look at how slow he's moving, dude. That spell is so crazy. It's so good in these kind of situations. Grombrindal is getting close. He's edging close to 300 kills. He's too angry to die. He won't go down. Rune Axe pops again. Minus 16 leadership, plus 50% weapon damage. All of that armor piercing. Arkhan goes in. And this last charge might be the last opportunity. Skeletons crumble out. Arkhan goes in. Lieutenant Nagash, Grombrindal the White Dwarf. We've got a duel. 99 HP, and he's out. He's done. Grombrindal clutches it. Insane. Absolutely insane to watch that. He almost got 300 kills. To be fair, most of it was against Chaff, but he also killed a Khemrian Warsphinx and Arkhan the Black. We're talking about value. The White Dwarf had some grudges to settle this day, and settle them he did. Almost 300 kills. Well played from both players. There were some really nice plays. I loved that Arkhan the Black feint into the Longbeards to force them to turn so the archers could fire into their rear. Great way to get an almost full HP unit off the field. I like the builds as well. Trimer torpedoes are so damn good. We didn't really focus on them much that battle, but they did a lot of damage to the Khemrian Warsphinx and to the Ushabti. They're a big reason why they crumbled out so quickly in the first place. And despite that seemingly overwhelming rush coming in from the Tomb Kings, A-Move Hacker had some really good focus fire and target prioritization on the high value stuff. Taking down the Khemrian Warsphinx to half HP almost immediately, getting the Dragonback Slayers on target, getting Grombrindal exactly where he needed to be to drop the flash bombs on Arkhan the Black, on the War Kitty, to slow it down, to mitigate some of that damage, and essentially just deal with all the high value threats. I think A-Move played that super well. V-Claw had some great plays himself, and overall a super enjoyable and great battle. That's Dwarfs vs. Tomb Kings. There will be plenty more of that coming very soon. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video. Indy Pride, signing out for now. Have a good one, guys.